Good afternoon, dear colleagues. So today is our next webinar in the series of teacher training educational program between Moscow International Academy and Anara company. My name is Evgeny Usachev, and I'm going to be the first speaker today. I work for the Moscow International Academy as the director of Postgraduate Studies Institute, and we train teachers and offer a wide range of educational programs. Today with me, Natalia Kolina, so a senior methodologist at Anara company. Hello, Natalia.
Hello, Evgeny. Hello, dear colleagues.
And the third speaker is our foreign partner from Publications, right, Natalia?
Yeah, so I will introduce him just straight after my talk.
Okay, fine. I hope that everybody today is in a good mood because the weather is sunny, maybe not as warm as it was yesterday and the day before yesterday, but the weekend is coming, and I believe everyone is really in a good mood today. So to start with, we have a couple minutes to start. Could you just place your notice in the chat? Where are you from? I mean, where are you logging from right now? Say what cities or what towns, whatever. Moscow, Galina, yes. Hello, Galina, our regular participant. Leila, right. Nizhnevatovsk, Kaprelevka, okay. Familiar faces.
Yeah, it's so good to see so many
Yeah.
familiar faces.
Yeah.
So I wish I could say a lot of familiar faces. We
Yeah.
can say a lot of familiar names at least, right? Which is also very good.
Yeah, exactly. Moscow, Noginsk, okay. Moscow region, Moscow. Mostly Moscow, which is not surprising. Yeah. Okay, and even the name of the university, Yelena, it's yeah.
And
Gimo
even
University.
the picture. Thank you, Yelena.
Okay, Saint Pete. Oh, hello, Saint Pete. Надежда. All right. Okay, good. It's the right time to start our webinar. Again, I'd like to remind all the participants that it's a joint project between Moscow International Academy, which I represent, and another company, which maybe Natalia will say a few words about Anara. You know better.
Okay, so of course I will. Thank you very much, Evgeny. But I guess everybody here is well aware of the company so far, all right? But still, so we are not only exclusive distributors of such famous publishing houses as National Geographic Learning, Helping Languages, Delta Publishing, and so on. But we also run a lot of webinars, a lot of conferences. And so today we are very happy to have you all here at our joint event with the Moscow International Academy. So thank you so much for your very enthusiastic participation, and we hope to see you at all our events. Thank you.
Yeah, we do. Okay, let me start my presentation. So can you see my screen? Make it just a second, make it bigger. Okay. So my presentation today, so if you can see my screen and the sound is okay, put a plus in the chat. I see, good. So my presentation today is dedicated to a particular approach to teaching, which we call project-based learning approach, or just concept, project-based learning in ALT. And in my presentation today, in my talk today, I'll be covering mostly the issues of what project-based learning is. So what are the key elements? And I hope that you will actively participate, because I'm going to ask you a few questions during my talk. So, and I suppose after my talk, you will get a maybe better picture of PBL and its advantages. At the same time, some particular procedures which we are supposed to have if we use PBL in our lessons. So I'd like to start with a question. So please place your message in the chat. What do you think PBL is? Yes, what is project-based learning? So what's that? What idea comes to your mind if you hear this abbreviation PBL? So just a few notes in the chat. Mm-hmm. So as you see, there's a keyword in this approach. Well, I see some people are typing their answers. Yeah, learners working on a common task. Thank you, Galina. Acquiring knowledge and skills through working in collaboration with peers. Thank you, Galina Nikolaevna. Teamwork, to some extent. Yeah. Actually, we talked about teamwork in our previous webinar. Yeah. Okay. Craft project based on some units topic, etc. plus teamwork. Yeah. Concentration on a certain topic, research. When you give the student a task where they can apply their knowledge, yes, find out ideas. Okay. So I'm going to look at two definitions. The first one is pretty simple, which says project-based learning is a pedagogic framework to learn and teach a subject through a project. So the key word in project-based learning is a project. Okay, but if we go to more thorough definition, according to the Buck Institute of Education, there is such an institute, PBL is defined as a teaching method in which students gain knowledge and skills by working for an extended period of time to investigate and respond to an authentic, engaging, and complex question, problem, or challenge. So it's not just as simple as some I would say, some activities, but as you see, it may be pretty long or extended period, and it involves investigation and response to some sort of question, problem, issue. Okay, so all right, my second question after this definition is, what benefits of using PBL in your lessons do you see? What are the benefits? Are there any benefits? Should we use this approach in language teaching? Please type some notes in the chat. The benefits of using project-based learning. Okay, yeah. You're absolutely right, Galina Nikolaevna. Developing 21st century skills, these 4C skills, right? Students are actively involved. Yeah. Promoting creativity, right? Any other ideas? All right, let's move on. Speaking about different benefits. So first of all, you see as one of our participants mentioned, yes, developing 4Cs, which is collaboration, creativity, critical thinking, communication. which are called 21st century skills. The second big benefit, it helps to develop growth mindset. Yeah, so there is a theory of say fixed mindset and growth mindset, and through project-based approach we develop students or build up students growth mindset. Of course, it deals with authenticity, right? Again, through different projects, students are exposed either to some cultural issues or to some important areas or industries they can devote their project to. Other than that, there is some statistics that project-based learning has already shown to improve mastery of 21st century skills. We mentioned that. Engage students, improve standardized test scores, increase academic achievement, cut absenteeism. Yeah, in some cases it's true, right? And boost cooperative learning skills. So these are the benefits. I'll see in the chat if you mentioned any more. Engaging, yes. Developing learners' autonomy, getting useful knowledge. Absolutely right. Okay. So as we see, it's pretty beneficial to use this approach. Okay. And as well as developing students' autonomy, it also helps to develop students' engagement and involvement in the lesson, develop communication skills and students' collaboration, and build up or develop 21st century skills. Actually, there is a very simple scheme here below, just 4 steps. In the presentation later on, we'll see that these steps are not so straightforward and easy, but generally speaking, it may be represented like 4 steps. Begin with the driving question. Yeah, one of the areas in PBL or key issues, key terms is the driving question. Then the inquiry process starts. The group of students finds a solution and they make a presentation or present their findings. So yes, generally speaking, it's as simple as that. I'd like to share with you some, say, charts developed by their institute, which I mentioned. It's actually Buck Institute of Education. They call it Gold Standard PBL. And you see on this slide, there are 7 project-based teaching practices. So in the very center of this chart, you see learning goals, just such as key knowledge, understanding, success skills. And as we see, it all starts with design and plan, then align to standards, build the culture, manage activities, scaffold student learning, assess students' learning, and engage and coach. At the same time, there are 7 essential design elements. As you see, one of the elements we start with is a challenging problem or question. You'll see more information, we hear more information about that in my talk later on. Then sustained inquiry, after the question is set up. There is some sort of inquiry, sustained inquiry, or it should be authentical, so authenticity mentions. Then we have student voice and choice option, reflection on what they are doing or they have been doing. Then critique and revision, and making the product public. By product, we mean a particular project material. Okay, so these elements may be applied to any kind of, say, science or discipline, be it English, be it any other language, be it any other subject. So these are the key elements, as I mentioned earlier. And we have the elements here, maybe in more detail. For instance, we have a significant content, public presentation, reflection and revision, in-depth inquiry and innovation, 21st century skills, voice and choice by students, and it all starts with a driving question, yeah, as I mentioned, and then students need something to know. If we look at this process in more detail, as you see, there are 7 elements here. So first of all, we start with significant content that student might be interested in, or we initiate this sort of content. So in this regard, we are supposed to have some standards of the content and some significant academic relevance. Yeah. And then we come to a driving question, so which helps us to establish learning goals, start with the end result in mind, and actually doesn't refer to any distinct course of learning, as it may be, yes, it may refer to different subjects, as I said. So the next step is students' voice and choice. So what happens at this stage? Students choose the direction of their learning. So they are responsible for this autonomous learning. We practice and use student-centered approach, student-centered learning. And of course, the other elements at this stage is inquiry and desire to discovery from students. Speaking about 21st century skills, they were mentioned, collaboration, communication, but there are some other elements. They should be technology rich, presentation skills, critical thinking, knowledge management, and intelligent listening. As for inquiry and innovation, we can involve instructor or facilitator, and a teacher may be a facilitator at this stage. That helps to develop, to deliver meaningful learning, define some concepts, and just outline some shapes of the product. Next stage, feedback and revision. As you see, there is a process of assessment, if necessary, rethinking or redirecting something. And the last but not least, publicly presented product or presentation. So it's real world competence, and students demonstrate their learning outcomes, and it may relate also to some sort of learning ownership. As I mentioned earlier, these are general elements, but today's webinar is dedicated to using PBL in English language teaching. So I'd like to share with you a PBL framework for EFL or ELT. As you know, in many cases, these terms are interchangeable. EFL stands for English, teaching English as a foreign language. And it's developed by Jane Maria Harding da Rosa. She had a publication. And the concept which she delivered consists of the steps, which may to some extent similar to what I've been talking about, but on the other hand, they are more language oriented. And you see these 7 elements. The first, define and refine, designate and collaborate, compare and share, enhance and advance, review and revise, and produce and present. And next to each stage, we have some key elements, which I'll be talking about in more detail. So let's start with the first one, which is define and refine. And as you see, the key elements here is a driving question. So yeah, but better say it's the second. The first stage, yes, is generate and stimulate. Sorry, generate and stimulate. So what happens here? First of all, it usually comes from the teacher initially, an idea, maybe a sort of concept, especially if we deal with young learners and teens. If we deal with young adults or adults, so the idea may come from the students themselves. So, and it's all about knowing our students and knowing what will motivate them in terms of the topics and activities, That's essential, right? But in some cases, if we know our students pretty well, we may just ask them to brainstorm some ideas for their projects related to a particular area. If we speak about undergraduate students, there may be a particular area of research or discipline, whatever, especially if they study economics. So there may be something related to economics, but not necessarily. So we're expected to generate interest by discussing issues that directly affect our students, right? And this is expected to stimulate them further. And actually, it's our role, our job, to build this curiosity and passion and to the project, yes, and adding if necessary and stirring when necessary. So, and as ideas are generated and we have areas that need further exploring, they should be exposed. Yeah, should be exposed. As a group, students decide which problem or area they want to explore. So it was the first stage, generate and stimulate. Let's move on to the second stage, which is define and refine. What happens here? So the key element here, as I mentioned before, we need to define a driving question. And it's not about the answer such as Google something, yeah? So each class or group within a class should have a different driving question that is specific to their interests. So we split up them in some groups. And first of all, it may be just brainstorming session, right? And they are expected to come up with a certain topic, right, or question in mind, this driving question. We can give them a helping hand, just saying or starting with the defining quite a big issue questions. For instance, if it relates to the topic, say, transport, yeah, what size should trains be? For instance, or another one, how can we get as many people on the train as possible? But again, these are just examples in every particular area. If students are struggling with an idea, so a teacher may help them somehow with a question or a couple of questions. So, and you see, this question shouldn't be written in so-called education is like what method should be used to maximize the capacity of the trains, but worded by and for the learners. Of course, if we deal with, say, undergraduate students or postgraduate students in their third and fourth year, so, and maybe they study linguistics or pedagogy, maybe at this stage we can use statements like this, questions like this. But the main idea, they should be clear to students and understandable. Okay, it's the second stage, yeah? After generate and stimulate, we speak about define and refine, trying to set up a driving question. After that, stage 3, designate and collaborate. Mostly it's dedicated to different goals, mostly SMART goals. And it's the stage at which the project is truly designed, because it's about goals. And I believe everybody knows this SMART principle for goals, which is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely or time-bound. So, and all the tasks and activities which we offer students at this stage, actually, they are aimed at helping them to set up their goals, right? And it also generates some sort of desire among students, opportunity to do this particular task or project. So at this stage, it's important that there should be a strong sense of collaboration within the students or among the students, but say in their groups, mini groups, right? So in order not to make students feel they are just alone, right? They are isolated, but they should act as a group. So just a moment. Okay. So, and at this point, it's a good idea to visually display the goals. So we need to visualize the goals which have been set by the group. So if it's a project about a particular area, say maybe social project or project dedicated to a foreign country's culture, again, we need together with the group, we need to help them visualize that. Okay, maybe having an idea of the outcome of the project. It's also very important to set up a procedure, who is doing what within the project and what are time scales, deadlines, whatever. So, and it gives a nice opportunity to students to value everybody in the project, and it develops their sort of collaboration, yes, and it's a good way to establish proper communication. Again, a teacher is not just observing what's going on. Yeah, the teacher helps and acts as a facilitator at this stage. So the fourth part, the fourth stage, after generation and stimulation, defining, refining, designating, collaborating, is comparing and sharing. So compare and share is the next stage. So what is expected at this stage? So it's important, essential that there should be a continuum of input and feedback, and it should come from peers as well, from the teachers. So we make students, we make students get to compare what they are doing and sharing the ideas and just it can make the projects much better. Yeah, when they when they do something and share and maybe change their initial idea, again, it's for the sake of the project effectiveness. So students may get a better idea of their own performance by seeing what others have done and comparing themselves in relation to each other. Yeah. For example, at this stage, we may show them some good examples of projects. At the end of my presentation, I'll show you some of them. And it may be a good example of what a good project is. So giving and taking critical feedback is also an important part of the development. So there may be a use such as think mnemonic, when they have to think at a particular questions. Actually, they are at this diagram. This is it true? Is it helpful? It's an acronym, you see. T, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Or just is it kind? So using this mnemonic, we can help them make their project better. At the same time, we need to provide guidelines for peer feedback. So students are expected to have this guideline how to evaluate their peers' performance and give a proper feedback. So then having so-called growth mindset as the alternative to fixed mindset, it's all about learning how to receive and use feedback productively, as well as accepting some critical remarks, as well as suggestions for improvements rather than criticism of failure. So one important benefit, as I see it from project-based learning, is really getting skills of giving and getting feedback, and maybe if it's positive and the group understands it, accepting this feedback and maybe making some necessary changes to the initial project. Okay, after that stage, stage number 5 is enhance and advance. So what happens here? At this stage, learners start off using the knowledge and skills that they have, And they also develop these skills further through the tasks or research that they are doing within the project. And this stage is what makes perfect pedagogical sense. So where students have created a context that interests them, and at the same time, in turn, um, has defined the language that they need to complete a task. And of course, at this stage, this integrates language as well as the content and skills development. And essentially, students are provided important reasons for using the language if we speak about projects in English language learning and teaching. Right. According to one of the researcher, Patsy Lingbone, a lot of language is acquired through meaningful language usage. However, many features of language cannot be acquired, so it's the teacher's job, it's our job to provide them with language they need to complete the task. So within the project, they acquire not only knowledge and skills, but some functional language which may be used in project management, right? Which is a quite important area, and also maybe say it's not a skill, just a set of skills, right? Which may be used in different areas of business, yeah, or maybe in studying, right? This project management. Okay, and they get these structures in English for the project management or some functional, some key vocabulary for that. So we equip them at this stage. What else should be noted regarding using PBL in the classroom? So it allows us to adapt goals for learners at different proficiency levels using the content the learners have created as a so-called backdrop provides meaningful language. So at the same time, the focus should be also on developing higher order thinking skills. So I think you remember this autonomy pyramid, right? Such as reasoning, inquiry, discussion, creative thinking, self-evaluation, observation, and some other areas. So we can compare these high order skills with lower order thinking skills, such as remembering information, ordering information, defining objects, and checking understanding. And of course, some other skills need to be enhanced here, and they are 21st century skills. And I already mentioned most of them, but as an addition to that, we see content knowledge and 21st century themes, learning innovation skills, information, media, and technology skills, and quite also very important set of skills which are called life and career skills. So the next stage is review and revise. What happens at this stage? Students look back at the whole project and review what they have done, being critical. So they compare and share at this stage, similar to the previous stage. They need to turn and using this acronym think, questioning on their own work. And of course, they need to evaluate and state what they like, what they would like to do, or would have done differently if they are doing it again. And this helps to consolidate learning and assess what learning has taken place. The last stage is produce and present. So I'm coming to the end of my presentation. So this is the final stage, and it should a certain product or project should be represented. Just so in some cases to class peers, sometimes more than class, just class peers. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a poster, display, or PowerPoint presentation. So with the current advancement of technology, there are quite many ways to publish the work that the students have done, from infographics to using Minecraft. You see that some of the Russian universities used Minecraft as a sort of base of the platform, learning platform. So, and some other suggestions may include leaflets, videos, photo stories, podcasts, and you see quite many formats, even including links to QR codes or Padlet notes and Google Forms or documents. So, of course, we need to keep in mind that the framework is not is only complete when we add the student to the center and making sure that they are at the heart of the project. So as teachers, on the other hand, we need to coordinate and manage the whole project at every stage. So, and lastly, and most importantly, we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that we are language teachers and we need to provide language input. So at each stage of the framework, there should be time allocated to language input. And we need to provide the learners with the language they need in order to carry out their task, to do research and present their findings. And it, of course, it helps to develop different skills, language skills. Okay. At the last of my presentation, I'd like to finish with the quotation. It's a research from Edutopia's Knowledge in Action study in collaboration with the University of Washington's College of Education, which says 80% of students say, this is the way I want to learn. And they said it after taking a project-based learning activity in class. Okay. Thank you, dear colleagues, for your attention. If you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them. Actually, I'm behind the time 3 minutes, but if any other questions appear, I'll answer them in the chat. I would also like to remind you that I work for the Moscow International Academy, and we have different programs for teachers. And these are the contacts of our Institute of Further Education. So don't hesitate to apply to ours. And these are my contacts. If you'd like to get some information from me firsthand or discuss cooperation or whatever, I would be more than happy to help you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Evgeny. So I'm sure that all the teachers are now kind of armed with all the theoretical knowledge, all right? So dear colleagues, my focus today will be more on, just a second, I will show you. Okay, can you see my presentation? Hopefully. Yes, just please put a plus if you can see it all right.
It's seen all right.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about project work as well and how to teach 21st century skills. Of course, the main focus I would like to make here, it's not theory, it's more about practice, of course, right? And I'm going to show you a few I would say ready-made solutions, or we can discuss together how to develop your own materials. So to make your project work with your students interesting and engaging. All right. So let's move on. If you think about your students, my first question is in the chat box. Please write what your students don't like. I mean, of course, so we think about language learning, language teaching from your side. So what do you think they don't like very much? Homework. Thank you, Leila. What else? What exactly, what you do in the classroom? Grammar exercises, boring tasks, writing. Okay, something else? Grammar, oh, grammar. Okay, writing tasks. Thank you. All right, so they are all very, very expected ideas. And here is my list of things that we discussed with teachers, and from my own experience, I think that students don't like very much. Of course, grammar comes first, as you see, learning stuff of no immediate or obvious relevance, like grammar rules or lists of vocabulary. They also don't like having to read something which do not interest them, right? So when you tell them stop talking, so don't talk to your friends, be quiet, they don't like being passive. They don't like it very much when they are never being asked for their view or about topics they know about or would like to say a few words about, right? So when they cannot see an end or a point to the work they have to do, or they don't like it also when they are always being told what to do. Okay, do you agree? I think you do, because this is just a few ideas for what they might be not keen on doing in the language classroom. Okay, my next question is, on the contrary, what your students like doing in the classroom. So use your chat box, just shoot me with your brilliant ideas, what you know for sure they like doing, playing, mingling activities, yeah, talk, speak, games, discussions. Okay, great. So they are all very playing, speaking, mingling games, just games. Thank you. Okay, so and here comes my list of ideas. So what they like? They, of course, they enjoy using their imagination, right? So they like being creative, making things with their own hands, or so discussing some brilliant creative ideas with their friends. They like using multimedia. So they like finding out about some interesting stuff that is of interest to them, not to us teachers, okay? Sometimes, so we do not coincide here. So they like sharing, chatting, working together, talking about themselves, of course. So they like to talk about their friends and family. They like to share their interests. So they like to make choices. And this is very, very interesting, because we will talk about it a bit later. When you give the students the opportunity to choose, so they are ready so to fulfill a task, so to do a homework, to do any activities that you suggest them easily, right, with pleasure. So they like to decide for themselves what to do. They like to try new things out. And of course, they like to show off. They are students, they are kids, teenagers, they are young adults. So they like to be standing out in a good way, yes, to show off. All right. I think that project work, because so the main topic of today is project work, so is a good way to let them have some fun. All right, so to let them have some fun, but this fun, of course, will be quite meaningful. All right, and also and why not, so we teachers like to have some fun with our students from time to time, because all this everyday work sometimes it really eats up our lives. And why not stepping away from everyday routine together with our students? All right, having said that, let's look at one more definitions, because Evgeny has already shown you a couple of definitions of what project work is. And this is a definition given by Mr. Barrett in 2013. So what is a project work, or what is project-based learning? It involves topic or theme-based tasks suitable for various levels and ages. I guess this is a very important thing. So different age students and different levels of their English level could be engaged in the project-based learning. So, and these tasks are suitable for various levels. And in these tasks, goals and content are negotiated by all participants. Not only we teachers tell our students what to do, but they decide for themselves and they discuss it with their peers, right? So learners create their own learning materials. And after that, they have to present and evaluate this together. This is also quite important to give the opportunity to our students to evaluate so the work that they have already or have just presented. That's why I've chosen so this definition. To my mind, it shows the value of PBL, so to a very good extent. Of course, you may create your own definition, or you may, let's say, follow one of shown today, or maybe you will find a few more definitions, but still, so to my mind, so the main ideas so different students of different level, different ages, so can participate, can do something together, and they present it and then evaluate or give some feedback. All right, let's move on. So project-based learning, in a nutshell, again, very, very briefly. So maybe here I would like to ask you to recall something from a previous talk, from a previous presenter. But let me just show you what I mean by asking you, so what can you remember, what comes to your mind when you start speaking about project-based learning. So here are a few ideas again. So of course, this type of approach, or this approach is student-driven. So students are in the center of the whole process. Then project-based learning is teacher-facilitated. Teacher helps, teacher inspires. And of course, maybe for some project works, it requires less work from the teacher, because the teacher is like a facilitator here, all right? So this approach teaches multiple strategies. We will touch upon it a little bit later. And projects projects are learning by doing. Of course, so students make something by themselves, and of course they can remember, they can learn things easier when they do something by themselves together with their peers. And also this approach is engaging or engage our students in real life learning. Okay, why do we increase, why do we choose projects? One of the reasons, I think, is because projects increase motivation. Of course, you remember what I've just told you before. So when students choose what they would like to do, when they choose the materials, when they choose sometimes their peer, or maybe they organize the group of their own. So it will also increase their motivation. They will do the task eagerly, right? This approach involves all four skills: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. I think so there is no objection to that, because before they present something, they have to read a lot of things. They have to search internet, they have to read books or whatever. They have to write their notes, their ideas before brainstorming or after brainstorming. They have to listen, and which is quite important, they have to listen to each other. So what are their peers saying? And of course, the speaking is the main outcome of all this approach, task-based learning. Of course, we talk here about collaborative skills and autonomy. teamwork and individual skills. Teamwork, I guess it's quite obvious here why we are talking about teamwork, but why do we talk about individual skills? Because so a good teamwork player, and I think you agree with me here, is a person who can create something himself, or let's say, so your students can make a lot of things themselves, but also they are good listeners. They know that a good output of their teamwork is an individual input of every single participant of a team player. So in other words, we can say that every individual effort can make the teamwork better. That's why when we speak about projects, we talk not only about collaborative skills, but also about learners' autonomy. The tasks that students choose or ask us to help them with are always authentic tasks, because so they know what interests them. So they, let's say, look around them. So they choose and they would like to use this knowledge, this area of their interest in their project work. Project works also help consolidating classwork, because all what have done previously in previous units, in previous months, or maybe even in the previous academic year could be brought together as a big or small, so it doesn't matter. So to bring all these things, all this knowledge together. And of course, this is something different. So that's why we can speak about having fun. So this can help us to have a break from routine, from everyday activities. Okay, and my question here, look at the picture. This is a bridge. I'm not going to ask you what can you see, but why bridge? Why do you think I put a picture of a bridge here? Please write your ideas in the chat box. What does it kind of symbolize? So we are talking about project-based learning, and why bridge here? So please type in the chat box. Cooperation, thank you, Galina. It shows like a bridge between the people. Very nice, well spotted. A link, all right, between what and what barrier. A link could be, actually could be different types of links, right? So good word, good association. All right, so a bridge here between theory and practice. Yes, thank you, Elena. Actually, so my idea here is like this. So the bridge shows the kind of connection. So it was mentioned in the chat box, a connection of what students have done to what they are going to do. Yeah, this is a link, this is a connection, right? So it's about bringing together the whole world of knowledge. And so students, let's say, going to find out and put together things or knowledge from what they have done before to what they will learn in the project. So that's why bridge here. So building a bridge, it's kind of you look back and you look forward. Again, so this is a connection. This is, like Tamara says, between mind and reality. Yeah, so here reality is what they know, maybe, and so mind what they would like to do. Of course, thank you very much. And by the way, my question is, do you think there are any drawbacks when we talk about project work? Can there be any drawbacks? Because we speak that we've already discussed that students collaborate together, so they are very creative, so they like doing a lot of things, deciding for themselves what to do. Can you think of any drawbacks of task-based learning? Because we should be ready for these drawbacks to know how to overcome. So we're not going to talk only about the advantages. We have to know our, let's say, drawbacks. So there is some disadvantages, some weak points to overcome. One person does everything, the rest just join. Yeah, thank you, Gulia. Yeah, that's absolutely right. They need certain lexical and grammatical background to express their ideas. Yeah, sure, Victoria. Thank you very much. They need, so they need to know. So they need some input from a teacher. They have to relate to their previous knowledge. Okay, something else? All right, it's no point so to spend a lot of time. Yeah, shy students, yeah. So it could be shy students. Students are reluctant. Students lack some grammar or vocabulary basis, right? So to use in their project work. Also, they could use a lot of L1, okay? So their first language, when they are discussing so the possibilities of making this or that project. But I think that good planning, that our personal involving, our enthusiasm can help to overcome this hindrance, right? Thank you, Tamara. No obligation to create something, yes. And we teachers have to help them to overcome all these so difficulties, all these drawbacks. All right, so again, so teacher's role. When we talk about project work, how can we help our students? What can we do for them? So to make their life easier. So again, so as I told you, to build the bridge, look back and look forward, we can show them how their classwork relates to the project they're going to do. Of course, we have to guide them and so give them a lot of ideas, so to help them produce their own ideas. One of our tasks, one of our roles is to put them in proper groups. What is meant here is you decide whether you put strong students with weak ones, or how can you play with assigning students to this or that group. You have to explain your students what they're going to do, why are they going so to make this or that project, how they are going to express themselves while making the project. So when is the correct time for, let's say, this is about the time management. So when is the deadline for finishing this or that part of work, right? Before they start working, you give them examples, good examples. So you can show them, for example, posters. I think so when we speak about project work, and especially when we talk about students of, let's say, school age, so the first thing which comes to our mind is a poster. Okay, a poster can be very, very different. It could be made with paints, with, I don't know, seeds, with plasticine or something else. So you have to give examples. So to, again, to show them that a lot of things are possible, and to show them how this or that idea could be implemented in life, right? And of course, don't forget about the resources, especially when you have young learners and they don't know where to go and who to ask. So you might be very helpful to show them so what kind of resources they can use. All right. Now, projects and 21st century skills. I don't want to ask you a lot of questions about what 21st century skills are, because you, of course, know they are communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. They are 21st century learning skills. We are talking about this type of skills today. And it is quite obvious that projects provide opportunities for students to communicate with their ideas, right? Communicate their ideas. It helps them to collaborate with their peers, engage in critical thinking, and use their creativity towards a meaningful goal. So thus in project-based learning, all the four C's are used, right? So I don't think so there are any objections to that. All right. The question here is, are projects good for any age group? So to what extent do you agree with that? That projects are good for any age group? All right, so please put from 1 to 5 into the chat box. Just to what extent do you agree? 1 is you do not agree at all, and 5 is you 100% agree. Absolutely, 5. So please put 1 from 1 to 5. 5, 5, 5. Depends not on the age, but language proficiency. So we'll see a little bit later. 5, 5, 5. Yeah. So you agree that they could be used for any age group. Thank you very much. Now look at this picture here. Don't look at the task. So I'm interested in the picture itself. It could be any picture. This is taken from one of the course books, but it doesn't matter, to tell you the truth. Just think about that you have a group of students and you show them a picture. Okay, so this picture is an actual one. It is not photoshopped. It hasn't been photoshopped. Okay, so and it's quite strange that these lions, these 6 male lions, are together, because that's a rare thing in nature. I think, I suppose so. What kind of exercises, what kind of task could be set up here? What do you think? Just your students look at this picture and you want them to do what? In what situation you might want to show your students this picture? All right. This is just a picture you show to your students and you want them to do something. Find a title. All right. Speculate. Okay. To smile. Yeah, smile and say something. I think that pictures are always great opportunity for providing. I mean, so they are good for providing ideas. Yeah. So what can be done so about this or that picture? We can ask our students to do a lot of things. All right. For example, my idea here is to recycle grammar. So I would ask my students to imagine, suppose my goal is to revise present perfect. All right, present perfect tense. So I would ask my students to look at these lines and to come up with ideas what they have just done. What are your ideas? Suppose you are your students, think from their perspective. What are your answers? What have the lions just done? What have they just discussed? What have they just thought about? This is present perfect. Yeah, and as easy as that. You want your students to give you good examples and not to describe a picture using present perfect, but so to speak from the perspective of each lion. You can even assign your students a role. Have just identified a victim, all right? They just noticed the photographer. Thank you very much. Yes, you see, so some ideas come up from you, and so the same could be done with your students. And these are some more ideas of what could be done just about this very picture. You can recycle grammar, for example, present perfect, or maybe be going to structure. What are they going to do next, right? So you might ask students to create captions, making up a dialogue. There was such an idea in the chat box. Thank you very much. Or you might want them to do a research work. And this is just so the picture to brainstorm some ideas. A research work on, for example, I don't know, so the endangered animals or maybe like you see in my list, project on a particular country, endangered animals project. So a lot of things to do just about the picture. It was kind of material for your project work for you have to do yourself. So this is how you may develop your own materials for future project work. To talk about the ready-made solutions, this is an example from one of the books, and teenage students are supposed to have to make a project, right? I'm sorry. So, and this is an example of encouraging creativity and critical thinking. I will show you the task a little bit closer, right? So teens are, they are tied to their phones and technology. And of course, they always use their devices for many hours a day. So what you may do about that, you can give them a chance to advertise an app or, for example, a website. They can choose one app or one website they use regularly, and then they have to be very critical about it. Yes, because what are the best features of this app or a website? What are the worst features? And so your students need to create, for example, an ad, like it is said here, for an app or a website, and present it to the whole class. So they create something, and then after that, they present to the whole class. What's so interesting about it is that they are all in the process of learning some of the ways in which people are creating ads to get us, so to buy something or to get us do something. So our students doing this task become much more critical when they look at other people's ads, because they are going to look at ads as they're trying to develop their own ad for an application or for a website. Okay. And here you can see that they decide, for example, which project they would like to choose. This is also very important, one of the ready-made solutions. TED Talks, couldn't help mentioning them. All right, so most of them begin with so I, and this can lead to a very interesting story. What I want to tell you here about TED Talks, of course, when you choose, and you choose it very carefully, I'm not going to tell you so what are the points when you rely on while choosing this or that TED Talks. What can be done as a project work? For example, you might want your students to brainstorm some ideas for a story you want to tell, right? I mean, so your students want to tell. They can discuss their ideas in pairs. They write the brief story. Then after that, they ask a partner to make a video of your student telling a story, and then they can present the video to the class. So what kind of 21st century skills are worked on here? For example, when we ask them to brainstorm some ideas, this is collaboration and creativity. Discuss your ideas in pairs, that's collaboration. Write the brief story, this is critical thinking and creativity. And when they do the last task, 2 tasks, this is about collaboration and communication. This is when you develop your materials yourself. You can do them so with any TED Talk video of your choice. Here is an example from a textbook for teenagers. This is pre-intermediate level, and all the tasks are ready-made. That's what I call ready-made solutions. Yeah, so I'm running a little bit behind the schedule. Sorry about that. But so to wrap up, I would like to show you a few examples what can be done with your students. And these examples of very nice projects. a project based on readers. Okay, so you read the books and then you discuss them in a different ways. So this is just an idea, so for you to know what can be done. So for example, a project of top 5 projects. So this is one of my favorite. Top 5 TV programs. Of course, your students choose. Top 5 discoveries, top 5 websites, and so on. Video exchange project. This project could be exchanged between the groups, between students, maybe between cities or countries. So if we think big, music project, research conducted via the internet, an invention of a new form of transport, a futuristic city. What else? A photo story. It could be an event, for example, a fashion show, a party, an art exhibition, and so on. Your students can do some surveys on different topics. Of course, they choose the topic. Scavenger hunt, and you might want to invite guest speaker. My last question here is, what do you think, which of these projects could be used for, just think for yourself, all right? For young learners, which of them fit to, let's say, young adults? Which of them could be used as, I don't know, suitable for summer camps? Think, because so you all agree that music project, yeah, all right. So this is for yourself, right? So you you read and you decide if you can use them for online learning, for offline learning, because when you work with your students online, you may want so to split them into breakout rooms, right? And do this or that type of task or projects in there. So separate groups, and then you can control and help them, guide them, so and so on. All right. Okay, so this is up to you to decide which project to use and where to use it. Okay, so before you go, again, think for yourself. No time to use our live chat box. So are you going to continue, or maybe you're going to start doing project work with your students? So are you going to continue? Hopefully, yes. Which new project would you like to try doing with your students? Again, decide to yourself. And what will be your first step to bring any project to life? This is not an easy task. We have to be well aware of what have been done, so to make your project a success. So this is different ways you can contact us, you can follow us, you can ask your questions, you can forward your feedback, which is very much appreciated. All right. Thank you very much for listening to me. And I'm thrilled to present you the third presenter. Okay, so the third speaker, representative of MM Publications publishing house.
Hello,
Yeah.
hello,
Hello, Christopher.
hello, Natalia.
Yeah, so a few words about Chris, okay? So he was born in Lowell, Massachusetts, USA. He completed his bachelor's degree in English literature and his master's degree in developmental and learning disabilities. He has extensive experience in teaching English as a foreign language at all levels. He has also written course materials for different levels of English as a foreign language. He is currently working for MM Publications as an LT consultant and teacher trainer for teachers all over the world. Okay, so and here is the website of MM Publications. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, and over to you, Chris.
Thank you very much, Natalia. Thank you for the wonderful intro and for the wonderful presentation also, that I managed to be able to see part of it in the end as well. Unfortunately, right now, I'm only virtually traveling around the world, as most of us are probably doing. And hopefully like as soon as possible, we're gonna go back to normal, which is being able to travel and conduct these sessions from up close. So thank you very much. I'm sharing my screen. I hope you can all see the logo probably is what should have
yes,
popped up. Okay, excellent, wonderful. So um, thank you again, the Moscow International Academy and the teachers that are attending. In the course of this session, we're going to be also talking about a similar, we're going to be covering a similar content which has to do with project work. And I promise I'm not gonna exhaust you with a lot of theory. I'm gonna be mainly focusing on what is it that we can do in order to proliferate the mentality of project work in class, and recommend a book from our publications, Publications, that is very much aligned with this mentality and this new approach to teaching. Because in any other ways, by all means, I mean, like project, the activities that are labeled as projects, it's not that new. Let's say it's not something which is can be considered as relatively new as a title, right? So what is it that has gotten into the ELT world, especially over the last couple of years, and we have been talking about the importance of project work? Well, first of all, uh, probably you can see some definitions here on what project work is all about. So I'm going to focus on the shortest one, which is probably the most concise, and at the same time also, of course, very descriptive of what project work is: experiential and holistic, because it bridges dualism between body and mind, theory and practice. And this is mainly what projects should be doing. This is what is the desired result of a project activity and its process and the result, of course. So I believe that the school must represent present life as real and vital to the child as that which he carries on in the home, in the neighborhood, or on the playground. So more or less, it is a situation where, I mean, what school setting should be all about is that it should not be excluded from anything else that is going on in the child's or older students, let's say, in life during that period of time. So the main idea, the main approach should be how we can replace this more or less traditional way of teaching. As you can see, it being represented here in this black and white blackboard. Chalk and talk. A lot of chalk and talk is, of course, the way through is the process through we were also taught the language, or we were taught in general all subjects in school through chalk and talk, which means more or less, it is a term coining mainly the idea that the teacher is presenting, is demonstrating their knowledge, and as students we are to listen and take notes and follow the rules of the assignment and the tasks that we had to do. This is a more of a traditional approach because it requires the students to be rather more passive than being able to to be in charge of their own knowledge. And of course, even on your best days, where you can see a very excited teacher here being depicted through this image, being very excited about today's lesson, could not really intersperse this energy, this exciting energy to the students. And of course, this is because the students do not find very much to connect with what they are being taught in school. So projects, and in general, the new approach that in our case ELT has taken, caters to meet those predicaments that occur from lack of interest in participation in class. And this is what the 21st century competencies are all about. The 21st century competencies that you have been hearing in so many webinars and seminars over the last couple of years. But there is a reason for this. It is the main idea is to bring into class all the components of the 21st century competencies as they are depicted here. And I'm pretty sure that you have seen in so many webinars and seminars, of course. And the main idea is to create, to reinforce actually, a sort of a buzzing atmosphere in class. A buzzing atmosphere, though, that is not about classroom disturbances. It is mainly focusing on getting the students to cooperate, getting the students to discuss, work in stations, and put into practice everything that is very wonderfully talk. We very in a very wonderful way we talk about in theory. How do we put it into practice? So this wonderful noise buzz that is accumulated in a classroom setting is something which is welcomed because it is a sign that indicates that we don't want any more students sitting passive behind their desks and just listening to the teacher. They have to be much more active. And this is why there is so much importance also, which is placed in project work, because project work encapsulates everything, a lot of the things that we talk about in the 21st century competencies. So this is why it has been spread all the way to the foreground and has been considered a very important part of education, a modern approach to education. So project work is the result, let's say, of what we aim to achieve through project work should look something like this. And what we see depicted here are activities that stem from the creativity of students. Uh, Let me just, okay, excellent. So yeah, whereas in the past, projects were something considered like this. Like I said, it's not a new term. It's not something that we just discovered. We did not rediscover America by all means, for sure. However, they were, if you are to ask me, a lot of the activities that were labeled as projects sort of reminded me as the typical reading comprehension activities. That is a text with a warm-up question, a text and a follow-up activity, and of course, final exercise that would require from the students to write an essay, to do a writing activity, a traditionally labeled writing activity that would stem from what it is that they have read. Yes, this has, of course, the core part of what project work is all about, but it would lack all the other, let's say, ingredients that are blended in what we call as project activity. So this is what, because these were the characteristics that defined project in the past. Of course, it was teacher-centered in the sense that the teacher would more or less control what would be the result of the activity by not giving a lot of room for the students to be able to discover various ways through which they can make their presentation much more interesting. On the other hand, right now, with the 21st century competencies blended in, projects aim to have a result that would a result that would blend these newly introduced ingredients. It should definitely be focusing on the traditional process and product as we're focusing, let's say, in a traditional concept of writing, that is coming up with ideas, brainstorming all the ideas, and then once those ideas have been accumulated and have been revised, rated, let's say, by the students, then they are able to release their product through their presentation, or making a connection with the real world. Of course, it should like we said in the previously projected slide, um, what we do in a school setting should not leave out of the students of what it is that they are connected with across different environments. On the contrary, there should be a generalization of what is taught in class across different environments as newly brought knowledge, and vice versa, taking advantage of the knowledge that is acquired from everything else that interests students out of the classroom setting and be brought into the class. So in one way, it is an opportunity to see how we can use the language as a means to transfer the knowledge or transfer our research knowledge into the projects that we are assigned to do. Of course, as teachers, yes, it's wonderful to talk about in seminars and webinars about coming up with a plethora of ideas on what it is that we can do in class. However, as teachers, we all know that we do not have endless time. Usually we have around 45 to 50 minutes in class. And of course, we also got mixed ability classroom settings. And this is something which is natural. It makes sense. I mean, my classes will all we're all mixed ability classroom settings. So of course, this is the norm, let's say, more or less. Through our series, through Portal, and generally through all the modern course books, okay, the approach is, the mentality is to integrate projects into the curriculum and be part of every module, so as to not consider it as an activity to be implemented if time allows, but reinforced to be a very important part of every module and every lesson. So the challenge here, and the challenge that we should stress, that we should reinforce the students to focus on, is how they can work on project and how they can do their activities. So I'm gonna be going like Wheel of Fortune somehow. I don't know if you are familiar with the TV. It's an old 90s TV show. You're gonna have to guess the characteristics of projects. I'm gonna be revealing them one by one. Because time does not allow, I don't have the opportunity to be very playful with this. I'm gonna be revealing them pretty soon, very soon. So the first one is driving. And as you can probably guess, the second word is question. So one of the main characteristics of the project, the number one characteristic, is the driving question. And what do we mean by driving question? The question, it's actually, the driving question is the question of the project. That is, what is the topic about? And if it is something that is very easily Googleable, Googleable. So as you can see here, there are a couple of questions which are addressed, and I'm pretty sure that some of them we can actually, if we just Google, we can very easily respond to the question that is being asked. Of course, the problem with this, when a question is Googleable, then it is like something like asking, that's how I see it, as a close-ended question that does not really that doesn't really propel research. So the 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 main challenge should be, what is it that we can work as an activity, get our students to work as an activity that will not be very easily Googleable, but will require all this process of research, critical thinking, creativity, in order to present a result of something. And in order to do that, I don't know if you are familiar with the Freire model that is included here, or generally any similar graphic organizers like the one that you see here. Well, graphic organizers are usually there to cater for one major problem that students are facing. I don't know what to write about. And usually this is the problem that students encounter in any writing activity. So through a brainstorming process, or because it is another way of conducting a brainstorming activity, through a graphic organizer like this one, you are able to get your students to start thinking and thinking of the characteristics of the examples that define the specific topic that we are interested in working on. So for example, in the middle, let's say here, you can put, let's say, the topic of the project, which could be, for example, endangered species, right? So what do we mean by endangered? What do we mean could be and a question for the students that might not be familiar with what we label as endangered species. Then here you can have the students include in their own notebook the definition of endangered species, or make them to think about a definition in English in their own words without really necessarily checking about accuracy or anything else, or grammar or vocabulary mistakes. Then some examples of endangered species, like let's say elephants, or no, I'm not very good with animals, to be honest, but I mean, there's so many endangered, even lions right now are endangered species, the way that we have the twist our world has taken. Some characteristics or facts about endangered species, and some non-examples. So for example, dogs or cats are not examples of endangered species. Or it could be something like this. You can provide to your students some facts, and all they have to do is guess the word that we are searching. Now, over to you, because I know that I have dominated this. Unfortunately, by default, it's for the course of the session where your microphones are muted. But let me check out the chat box to see if you are having exactly some recommendations to make. Extinct humpback whales. Thank you very much, Olga. That could be a great example of an endangered species that we are showing. So let me go over to the chat box and see if you can guess which is the word that we are searching for here. What is the definition? What does this definition lead you to? The examples that are some different shapes that can describe this a word that we are actually searching. Some facts and characteristics that are descriptive of this word. It's that it's two-dimensional, it's closed, and it's got straight lines. Some non-examples are the ones that you see here, circle and cone. So you can have an idea of what a general description of this is. It's not a rectangle, it's not a triangle, it's not a pentagon. What are we? But these are examples of this word. Can we make any guesses? Let me give it away. Okay. Square. Okay. Square is another characteristic. It's actually exactly a polygon. A polygon is the word that we are searching for. So you can be very playful here, as you can see. And this is a way of generating some ideas and getting the students to organize themselves and thinking of different characteristics. This, to my belief, is much better to be instructed as a, and give the students the opportunity to go through an activity like this as in pairs, or by getting your students in pairs or in groups to think of examples and ideas. Of course, it is another brainstorming activity that you can see is just organized and presents the facts and the samples in a different way. I'm very much a fan of graphic organizers like this one, because this is an opportunity for the students to come to think of ideas, and they're always kept active in what it is that they are doing. So let's move on to the second characteristic, which let me reveal the first one. Okay, it's ICT literacy. And of course, ICT literacy is to a great extent important, especially nowadays, due to the fact that, okay, this is mainly the turn our world has taken. This is how we, and especially nowadays, is much more popular than ever. It would have been simply impossible to be able to participate in sessions like this one, or even more, the most important thing, to have classroom virtual classrooms on without the use of technology. So of course it is something that has to be brought in teaching as well, and of course to be in connection of project work as well, because this is how for one thing, I mean, this is another opportunity to see how something that they like to do outside the classroom setting can be brought through technology in the classroom setting by involving ICT literacy into presenting a project. And of course, this has been implemented in activities like the one that you see here. This is one of our Portal Culture pages where the students are asked to respond to a quiz that is here, and the main objective of the project is to have the students to do their research. Look at the English words and phrase in the box. Do you know what any of them mean? Choose three and do some research on the internet to find out what they mean. In which countries are they used? Write each word, phrase in a sentence. So again, there is this sense that they have an option. They're able to choose which one of the three words which three words they are to select, and they're going to have to make use of technology, of the endless online library that is very easily accessible, though, in order to conduct the research and come up with a specific presentation. Now, the next step is, of course, working on project skills, So with Portal, what we have done is we have included this project skills section, the step-by-step guidance to all the necessary steps that are necessary for the teacher to be familiar with in order to present in class, but even more important for the students as well. So this is a component, this is a basic component which is included in every student's book. So the students know which are the steps they have to go through in order to reach the final step in presenting a, the topic that they were assigned to present. So it's the first step is brainstorming, by thinking of the topic carefully and creating a mind map or a Freire model like the one that I showed before. Planning, deciding which of the ideas are the ones that will do for the project. Conduct the research. This is the step 3. So based on this planning that we have of the initial idea and how we want it to exploit, we can conduct that research, then start to get into the form of creating, writing down, let's say, or recording the video, proofreading, checking any mistakes or checking if we're going to leave out any sections, and of course, getting to the last part where we set up our presentation of this. So this is a material that you can devote, let's say, before doing the first project with your students in class, some time to go through an activity like this. And as you can see here, how this can be demonstrated, this is another project that stems from a culture page, which has this scaffolding process of introducing different images from around the world that are, of course, taken from different cities, from 2 cities actually around the world. The students read about the two cities, and of course they're asked to do a project, choose a city and do research on the main sites. They are to take a look at the way that these two cities have been covered in a presentation, and of course choose a city that they would love to go to or that they have been to, and start working on their project like this. And in order to see, to demonstrate how these examples that we mentioned before, these steps in projects work, we can, it's always good to familiarize them with some ideas so they can exploit, let's say somehow, okay, what do we mean by brainstorm? So brainstorming here, for example, means you have to think of the main sites of a city and get them to, yeah, um, through a graphic organizer, for example, to share their ideas and go through all the steps as they are included here. This is wonderful to be done, especially before you assign the first project, because then you will somehow give them the idea of what is it that makes project work so today and so appealing also, and so some identification to what extent we are actually shifting from the traditional way of teaching to a much more modern approach uh, through all these steps. This is another sample. So, for example, what you can see here, this is another culture page with musical instruments around the world. A project does not necessarily have to be about writing something. It can be about making a poster, like choosing a musical instrument and making a collage. Or for some students, it might be a bit more easier, especially nowadays with the virtual age, and where people do not tend to buy that much that many magazines, or print seems to come not that handy, let's say, in every household. They can make short videos that present the topic that is to be that they have been assigned with. So something else which is also quite important. Of course, it was covered, and it's covered in almost every recent seminar or webinar in ELT, which involves creative and critical thinking. And of course, creative and critical thinking are fundamental skills of the 21st century competencies, because it it is what is necessary for students to start to think out of the box, to really take control of all the data, of all the ideas that they have, and start to analyze. They have to evaluate the info that they got, and they are able to, from analysis and evaluation, to make presentations of everything that they have acquired. So, of course, in order to present something that was also shown in the previous talk, this is this box encapsulates the four C's: communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity, which are of course main characteristics, core characteristics, to add another C there, core character, or another two C's, core characteristics of what project work is all about. Because the students, in the process of working, trying to come up with ideas, they share their ideas, and it requires some analysis and evaluation, like we mentioned before, but that also is because project work is meant to be mainly as group work. It requires collaboration and communication, so there's got to be an environment which is very conducive to exchanging of ideas. That is very necessary, and it's actually what differentiates project work from a typical writing activity. Another project here, as you can see. So as you can see here, we've got we've got three texts about, we actually got texts about three different marathons, right? So here, in order to, what is the task? What is the project here? In order to make it much more of a today, of course, we need to focus on the information which changes. So do your research and find all the current records regarding the marathons. The best time for men and women, the best time for the men's and women's wheelchair race, the marathon with the most people taking part, the marathon in which the most world records are broken. So usually it makes sense that during these periods of time, there were some records that have already been broken. So it's up to the students now to present in class something that is not something that the rest of the class is not very familiar with. So it gives an extra reinforcement for not only working on the project, but for the students who are going to be listening to listen to the presentation of their classmates in order to acquire this new information. And of course, why not take advantage of something that students really love doing, especially nowadays, that is record themselves by making use of a video. So instead of having a typical writing activity, getting them to make a video and pretend that they have to work on an activity like this, start to engage into presenting like YouTubers, like future YouTubers, the assigned project. Excuse me. So um, something else, presentation skills. Now, this is something which is very much today and is in accordance with what is it that we want to cultivate in class. So students are not able to show that they are very active and they have and be able to demonstrate the level of the research and the work that they have done by being given time for presentation. Now, I'm pretty sure that here these two images, as you can see, are showing students standing in front of the class. Some students are definitely intimidated to do that. That's why we should, first of all, for the students that are very much um, quite shy to stand in front of the class because they do not feel that they are in absolute control of presentation. I mean, even we give them a break because it's really hard, even for us as teachers, sometimes to stand in front of a class, especially when we are doing it in front of a group of adults, right? So what's the more the case applies to the students as well. So we can actually get the students to have specific roles in the presentation by giving the presentation in chunks, let's say, selecting each student selecting their role, or even in the process have them gradually present in front of the class, while in the first stages, in the first project work presentations, why not have them sit from the comfort of their seat as they are gathered, or be all of them be gathered in one part of the classroom to make it less intimidating. Something that I had done with my students in classes, that I would not have every group present in front of the entire class. I would actually divide my class in two, and I would have two projects being presented simultaneously. I would be standing somewhere in the middle, and I would be paying attention by creating this to the presentation, of course, but also creating a much more secure, let's say, environment and the coziness in the presentation process. Something which is last but not least important is autonomous learning. And this is what we gain from activities like this. Everything that comes along with autonomous learning, which has to do with the students taking control of their learning and learning actually how to learn and being able to evaluate their learning process. Because in this way, the students, of course, are seeing the teacher as more of a supporter, as a person who is going to be there to assist them whenever they need, and not control the objectives of the activity. The teacher acts as a guide on the side and less like a sage on the stage. And of course, the most important thing, as you can see, these words that we mentioned here create the acronym of projects, are all the characteristics that have to do with project work and as they are defined. Uh, Let me just check to the chat box. I know that there was not much time, so that's why I was not paying that much attention to everything regarding the chats. I would like to apologize for this. However, I would. I'm very much looking forward to at some point being able to conduct a seminar. I mean, sharing of our physical presence, let's say, under a common setting. So, Natalia, I can see you're back on. So,
Yeah. Thank you very much, Chris.
thank
So
you.
let's
Likewise.
hope for there will be one day when you can come to Moscow, to Russia, and to present your brilliant ideas to all the teachers. All right.
Thank
So
you very
I've
much.
just
Thank you.
put the link to your website with which exactly leads the teachers to the course book you were talking about. This is Portal to English, and this is for secondary and for young adult courses, as far as I understand, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
thank you very much. Sorry for just staying a little bit behind the schedule
No
from
worries.
my end.
No worries.
Yeah.
These
Okay.
things happen.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. So we would love to have you as a speaker, as a presenter, and as a guest. So, okay. So
I
you're
would more
welcome
than
to
love to.
Russia with all your nice team. All
Thank you very
right.
much. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. Just a very quick reminder for the
Sure.
teachers who are participating in the project that our next meeting will be not on May the 14th, as it was said on Evgeny's slide, but there was a kind of confusion, right? It will be on May the 21st. Okay, so May 21st, Friday, 3 p.m. Moscow time as usual. So thank you, colleagues. Thank you, MM Publications team. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Evgeny. I'm not sure if you are still with us. All right. Okay, so dear colleagues, you will be getting your certificates. So on request. So please let me know, let us know, let Anara know if you need this certificate of participation, and we will be more than happy to forward you this certificate of participating in this I hope so a very interesting talk, so as three of us did for you today. So have a nice week, or actually a very nice coming weekend. Yeah, so take your time. Okay, so enjoy your weekend. All right, and see you next. Oh no, at our next webinar, May the 21st. Thank
Thank you
you,
very
and
much.
yeah,
Good
goodbye.
evening. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.